Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We are here tonight with episode 32 of Beneath the Banner's Shadow. This is a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign that we have been running for 3+ years now. This takes place in a homebrew world of mine known as Rostveen. In particular, this is a kingdom known as Vykaril that is based heavily on Arthurian legend and British and German history with tons of artistic license layered on top. So yeah, this has been an incredible journey so far. If you're starting here, okay, hold on, Buttercup, because there's a lot. This onion has a lot of layers, and I'm really excited to take another bite. This analogy kind of fell apart. Sorry. Before we get started, I'm going to warn you all that horrible puns and analogies that don't hold up to standards, and bad language, and immature jokes, mature topics, all that kind of stuff. Peril. Those kinds of things exist in this game in abundance, so if those are the kinds of things that bother you, then, well, you have found yourself in a terrible corner of the internet and you need to turn around. But if those things don't bother you, then welcome, you filthy scallywag. Were you clearing your throat because you're admitting that you're a filthy scallywag, Steve? No? No? I think you might be.
On accident.
Oh, Baron. He's throwing his voice. It sounded like a Steve clear his throat. I don't know why. Anyways, before I pass things over to these chuckleheads to introduce themselves and tell you what they've got going on, where you might be able to find them on the internet, I do want to say a massive thank you to Rachel Ayers. She's the artist who designed most of the statues? What the fuck? Shields. The house shields that you're going to see throughout most of this campaign. There are a few exceptions, but the one that is currently up in the upper left-hand corner, upper right-hand corner for you, is one of the ones that she's designed. She's a wonderful person, a fantastic artist. I highly recommend that you go check her out if you need some work done. Also, for Studio Hobbit, I believe this is his art name. I don't remember what his first name is. You gave it to me last time, Steve, but I don't remember what it was. Augusto. So thank you very much, Studio Hobbit or Augusto, for the fantastic art that you drew that you can see displayed on everybody's little windows here as their characters. Beautiful character art done. It's the first time I've ever had someone do character art for a game that I've run. So it's very exciting, and I love them. Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and pass things over to my players. And we're going to start with Eli.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eli. Nice to be here. I was just getting my dice ready over here. I'm very excited to be here. It's nice to meet up with everybody at the end of a big holiday weekend here in the States, and feels like just the right way to end things. I am going to be playing Sir John Lightnor, a Knight of the Realm, and I'm excited to see kind of how this fallout backlash plays out from our big dirty actions.
Big dirty actions. Speaking of big dirty actions, Steve.
Wow, hey, first time for everything. That's all I got. How you follow? Hey, so important note, Josh is here. Yay! I don't really have anything other than I'm looking forward to tonight and getting yelled at by Ari again, I'm sure. Sir John is backed off. Ari is taking over. That's how it works. Co-parenting, I believe that's called.
Taking turns. Yeah, man. Anybody who mentions a channel that you are interested in checking out, you should be able to find it in the description of this video down below. Please do go check them out. Give them likes, shares, love, likes, whatever whatever the program it is that they're using. They deserve it, I promise you. And these are all fantastic people and wonderful players, and everything that they've done that I've witnessed creatively is astonishing. So please do take the time to go check them out. Yeah. Speaking of astonishing, the one, the only, Josh.
Hello, everybody. My name is Josh. Again, tonight I will be reprising my role as Eddard Pendrake, the Baron of Brazenflute. I am very happy to be back here with all of my friends. I missed you all very dearly, and can't wait to get back into this game. Not a whole lot going on with me other than work's been kicking my butt, so not a lot going on in content creation, but I'm happy that I'm able to find time in my schedule to play with you guys every month. But yeah, other than that, happy to be back. Can't wait to get back into it.
Excellent. Very happy to have you back, Josh. I'm glad that you could make it for this session, man. Yeah, should be interesting. I hope. All right. Next we have Karen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen, also known as Myth and Gears. Don't have a lot to plug right now, but super glad that the whole gang's back together again. So yay! Looking forward to tonight when I get to play Ariana and maybe do some scolding. We'll see.
I think that's a likely yes. More likely than you might have to roll dice. No, we'll see. All right, last but certainly not least, Baron.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Baron. I play Masaka Tord. I play this game online. Sometimes I am seen in others, but I'm just happy to be here. Ready to venture forth into Vykaril and reforge the sword.
For honor!
Huzzah!
Absolutely. These are 5 of my most favorite people in the entire world. For those of you who do not know, for some reason, if you're unaware, this campaign has been going on, like I said, for a very long time, and it is near and dear to my heart. And that is largely because these 5 players have given me so much fantastic stuff to work with their characters, and they just bring it every time we play this game. So I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited to tackle session number 32, the calm before the storm. So unless we have any questions, then I think we might be ready to play some D&D. Excellent. Let's do it. Victory is, at times, a trophy that loses its luster the moment it is in hand. For the victorious, the overcoming of their adversity leaves them with a wanting, a need to be challenged yet again. History has shown us that a warrior without the ability to ply their trade may eventually become the monster they would otherwise stand against. And so it is that the sword must always be pointed toward the next enemy. We are still in Shaneen, the Angorian outpost furthest east in the Kingdom of Vykaril. The entirety of the Angor Shire is held by the Angorian orcs, who were once a tribe of orcs who raided into Vykarilian territory, were defeated in combat by the once and future king Mathuran Gabrain. But instead of being supplicated, instead of being turned into slaves of some kind, or slaughtered, Mathuran Gabrain took these Angorian raiders into the fold of the kingdom, gave them the lands that they had just pillaged, and turned them into bannermen that would serve the kingdom, creating the shield house known as House Criminac, who still to this day holds the Angor Shire, this eastern march of the lands that faces the steppes beyond. Now, it seems, in a ironic twist, history has repeated itself. The Thunderhoof tribe has come from the steppes, invading the Angor Shire and reducing it to rubble and ruin, all except for the city of Shenin, which managed to hold long enough for the sword of Vykaril to arrive. Our 5 heroes rode eastward, gathering what remained of a fighting force known as the Gothezka that were riding throughout the pillaged and ruined part of the kingdom, and managed to unite what was left here of a defense, and took down the Khan of the Thunderhoof tribe, XXXII. Having claimed the fatal blow, Tord, Sir Masaka Tord, is now Khan of the Thunderhoof tribe, or at least what remains of it. You have returned to Shenin. You have announced your victory to the Duchess of House Criminac. And celebration was in order. So, as you were all relaxing a little, partying, taking some much-needed rest and relaxation, there's several identities. There's several items that you got from XXXIII's horde that you were fairly certain were special and unique, arcane in nature. So, if nobody else has anything before we tackle that, I think we're going to go ahead and do that as our first order of business, is to kind of identify those. Yes, sir.
Could I have done something? I just wanted to put this
Absolutely.
out there in the world.
Please.
It has been a long time since we left Shenin for the first time. Would there be any way for me to have retroactively reached out to Sir Thomas to get a full report of what's going on in Raisin Flail? Because I know 25 words isn't going to cut it.
Sure.
I expect like a full report with documents and all that good stuff. So
maybe
yeah,
by now
the messenger is mated.
Okay. So let me see here. Okay, I've got that open for later. Yeah, so you're wanting him to send you a physical, like, written report, but you're requesting it with message?
Yeah, full info, everything that's going on. I had sent over a couple of newly knighted people.
Yes, I remember
those
that.
people specifically, housed just a an overall umbrella report. But like
Certainly.
I said, I know that that message is not going to be enough to convey all of that. So I would have requested something by parchment.
Okay, yeah. It might take a little while yet to reach you, but he's basically affirmed that he's gotten your message and that he will put that together and send it your way as soon as possible.
Gotcha. That's all I have.
Cool. And I imagine that you might have done that probably a week ago at this point, give or take. So you would be expecting it probably within the next few days. And I think there was some question about how long you might stay in Shenin afterwards. And so a couple of days is certainly within reason. The celebrations would certainly last that long, and all of you have more than earned the respite from the constant haranguement that you've kind of met on the road. Okay, so magic items. Let's see here. Oh, I have these fancy new things. Check it out. All right, so the first one is the armor that I think Tord currently has. This is known as the Barding of the Horse Lords. This suit of green and brown leather armor is reinforced with decorative banding of highly polished steel. Intricate knotwork frames the resplendent horse motif found throughout the armor. Despite the obvious ruggedness of this suit, it also carries an undeniable regal bearing. This armor requires attunement. It grants the wearer a +3 to their armor class. This bonus is also applied to any mount the wearer is currently riding. The wearer also gains proficiency in the handle animal skill, or double their proficiency bonus if they are already proficient in that skill. While wearing this armor, the wearer also gains the ability to talk to horses, as if with the Speak with Animals spell. In addition, any weapon with the finesse feature, while wielded by the wearer of this armor, deals damage equal to 1 die type higher than normal.
This is
All right.
leather armor.
It is. Let me see. Barding of... It is studded leather, +3. Is what it will count as. In addition, you also found a rather elven-looking sword. It is called Ifaladar. The entirety of this weapon appears to be made of copper, but has clearly visible wood grain throughout. Even the scabbard has been crafted from this same mesmerizing material, with scrolls and knotwork that indicate elven craftsmanship beyond all doubt. When this blade is drawn, a crisp, light autumn breeze picks up and you can hear the sound of leaves softly rustling along the ground. This scimitar requires attunement and qualifies as a monk weapon. It grants a +2 to attack and damage rolls made with this weapon. The wielder of this weapon may cast Featherfall a number of times equal to their proficiency modifier per long rest. In addition, once per long rest, the wielder may use their action to make a whirlwind attack with this weapon against all creatures within reach. Any creature hit by this attack must make a strength saving throw at a DC of 8, plus their strength or dexterity modifier, plus proficiency bonus, or take an extra 2d6 bludgeoning damage and is flung up to 15 feet away from the wielder and is knocked prone. If the saving throw is successful, the target takes half the damage and isn't flung away or knocked prone. The last item that you received is a staff. It is the Staff of Thunder and Lightning. This one is very difficult to read because there is a ton of shit that it does. So, hold on, I'm going to shift to my piece of paper here. Piece of paper.
I'm going to try. The charnel humid of this staff cackles along...
Very close. That's good. Yep. The charred wood of this staff crackles with blue energy that dances along its length. A smattering of burnt wrappings and feathers adorn the head. It looks as though this weapon should crumble beneath your touch, and yet it does not. Instead, when you touch it, your hairs stand on end and you can smell a storm brewing. This staff requires attunement. It can be wielded as a magic quarterstaff that grants a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with it. It also has the following additional properties. When one of these properties is used, it can't be used again until the next dawn. It has lightning, thunder, lightning strike, thunder clap, and thunder and lightning. I'm not going to go through each one of those, but some of them are rather powerful. So it is a strong staff. And there you go. I will copy and paste those into our chat while you kind of discuss amongst yourself what it is that you want to do with those, where you want those to end up, etc., etc.
And the pink and green marbled stone is just an ironstone, yes?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes. Let me check my list. Yes, okay. So the Ion Stone is an Ion Stone of Leadership. That is, your charisma score increases by 2 to a maximum of 20, while this marbled pink and green sphere orbits your head. It does require attunement as well.
That's so much more healing.
So what's everybody thinking? Any of these particular things sound like they have a home?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say the horse armor goes to that guy from the
Tord-
horse lands.
Tord is like pulling the armor up and is like,
Right. And Ari had to put the swords away to be able to help Tord put his pants on. Like we like,
Tord, I say that's a perfect fit.
little tight in the chest.
Well, we can get it adjusted.
I know it wasn't brought up in the magical items section, but yeah, the carved harp of exotic wood inlaid with ivory and zircon. I think it makes sense for Eddard to have that probably. Eddard would have probably tried to get that. He hasn't played in a long time.
yeah, a lot of the just the regular art items and stuff we sent to the Duchess to sort of be sent back out to the general population to rebuild, but Eddard keeping the harp makes total sense to me.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would agree. Huh. Apparently. I'll have to send this one in pieces. It won't let me copy and paste that much.
The Ironstone, I don't know how valuable that is to Eddard. The only thing it would do for Dan is it'd let me heal more in a single go.
I don't know anything about the Ion Stone, so
Gives you a +2 bonus permanently to charisma while it's orbiting your head.
Up to a max of 20.
charisma, you say?
Mm-hmm.
I already have a 20 in charisma.
Oh, well, there you go.
So maybe it makes sense for Dane to keep it.
I already have a 20.
I have this eye patch which gives me +5 charisma. Just kidding.
Schrodinger's eye patch.
Yes.
Nobody remembered that it was there till.
Do you guys want to hear the story? Since I haven't been
Please.
able to tell you guys why Eddard lost his eye.
I would love to.
Eddard lost his eye whenever he was dragged by the warg, and the warg hit his head on a rock.
So
that
it's fairly
was the
recent.
first time Eddard almost died. Yes, that was like not even a week ago. If a week ago was the last time we were in
Right.
Janine.
In game, yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's what happened. And then he almost died again. But we'll get more into that.
I don't think there's any call for anybody to feel like they're in danger. Okay, that is all piecemeal and broken up, Eli, but hopefully it's enough for you to nab what you need to nab. If not, I'll get it to you in our Facebook Messenger after the game. Okay, so yeah, it sounds like Tor's getting the armor, Ari is getting the sword. Or John. Sounds like maybe Ari is offering. I don't think he's interested in it.
You said John, didn't you?
I did.
Oh.
Ari is asking if you want the
It's a
sword.
very nice blade, Ari, but I really do think it belongs to you. Look at the craftsmanship and the it looks exactly like the other weapons you have. It's not for me. Please, you take it.
It's too dainty.
It looks like a little stick in his hand. It's like,
I think and I like pull out my long-sword and I'm like holding it with one hand, kind of shaking it around, like, look at the size of this thing. You see, if I were to try and wield that, I would feel like a toothpick. I wouldn't know what to do. I would much rather have a dagger or something at my side.
all right.
Not that it's not a fine sword. It's a very fine sword.
It reminds me of that scene from 13th Warrior. You give an Arab a sword, he makes a knife. When you die, can I give that to me daughter? I love it.
I love that movie.
So good. All right. So it sounds like Ari's got the sword, Tor's got the armor, and Dane is taking the Ion Stone. Is anybody taking the staff?
I don't think Eddard will. If anybody else is interested in it, he doesn't need a focus to cast, and I don't think it would be that useful to him, honestly.
I don't know how you all feel about it. It could be super useful. I mean, it does kind of scream dark magic, though. But I mean, this is an opportunity to kind of prove what I've been saying all along, that it's not magic that's bad, it's how it's used. Besides, would we want to trust that to anybody we've met so far?
I think overall we should definitely keep it. At the very least.
The only person that I know that would make any use of this kind of staff is Reagan. However, what did you have in mind, Dane?
It feels odd saying this because so much of what the staff does is I don't know. It's almost opposed to what seems very natural to me. Ever since my grandma, since Camagel sort of brought me these powers, everything's been very water-based, but it doesn't feel wrong. Does that make any sense? Like, it looks bad, but it doesn't feel wrong.
I've heard of many cursed objects calling to the people who wield them. Just because it feels right doesn't mean it is. Remember, when we first found ourselves together and we fled into the forest and stayed at a tavern and then woke up inside iron pots.
Ovens.
What?
Nothing.
Well, tell you what, if this turns out to be a cursed quarterstaff instead of a cursed walking stick, then we can debate trivialities like that. But for the time being, I'm not sure it's for the best that you use that. I think Sir John kind of looks around at everyone else. Does anyone else share my concerns? We have so many of these dark objects. We have no idea what to do with them, so we just carry them around. I'm worried that they're influencing us.
I'm of the same mind as Dane. I don't see the affinity or alignment of an item per se. It's a stick. It's a powerful stick. But it's not making decisions per se. It could influence, but we're capable.
Can't believe I'm actually agreeing with Tord yet again. But as Dane says, it's not the magic that's good or bad. It's the person that's using it. And that is what we've been trying to prove to these fanatics this entire time. Let's not fall under that sway.
It's a resource we can't afford to disregard.
What? It's going to require someone to understand it, to almost bond with it. But it doesn't mean it has.
Doing that.
But it doesn't mean it has to be used all the time. If Eddard or myself did that, we could carry it wrapped on a horse and have it be a last resort.
Whatever it may be.
don't think it's a bad idea. But
Well, if you think you can control it, I think Sir John kind of has this look of vague distaste, but also clearly he's in the minority, so he's just going to sit with his feelings about it for a little while.
what
The
about
title
Leonard?
of Sir John's autobiography.
You're more versed in this type of magic than I am.
Suppose I have a spot on my new horse to carry around the staff. I wouldn't mind. I'll take it.
I'll make sure we wrap it in some cloth or something. Riding into a town with a charred stick that screams witch, probably not the image we want. And I kind of roll down my sleeves to cover my weeping, rusting scars.
Your rusty arms.
All right.
Okay. It sounds like maybe there's a moment between Eddard and Ari.
I want to set this up. All right.
Sure.
So after all that has transpired over the past week with all these battles and all these close calls with Eddard, he has taken some time with the respite to practice his bow skill. He carries a short bow, but he never uses it. And after being too close to the action, for lack of a better word, I think he's probably spent some time trying to see what he can do with this thing. So you probably would find him out somewhere removed from Shanin, practicing some archery.
She would come up behind you, and to not startle you, she'd wait for you to finish the shot that you're about to take before she'd speak up. Eddard, a little to the right, before you pull, you might have a better luck.
And he would make the super subtle adjustment. So he's probably just aiming at some tree down the way. And sure enough, right on target.
Much better. You're coming quite along with that.
Well, after all we've been through, I can't be putting myself that close to people who want to kill me.
No. And there are those. As to that, Eddard, just one moment, please.
Sure. He sets his bow down on the ground, and he actually takes a seat in the grass, in the leaves.
Ari, in like one fluid motion, would just kind of cross her legs and sit down, kind of in front of Eddard. And then she pulls out this bundle that you didn't really see it before. She must have had it on her back or somewhere. But she pulls it out and she puts it on her lap. And she looks at you. Eddard. I don't understand why, but I feel partly responsible for that gift you had that went missing. And I know I can't make up for it. It's not my place, but here. And she just kind of throws it at you because she realizes she's kind of already bungled this up a little bit. She throws this bundle, and it's heavier than maybe you were expecting, and it definitely clanks with metal as it kind of lands on your lap. You should have this.
He opens up the cloth and sees the blade. I thought we had come to the conclusion that it would be better suited for you. Would it not?
That was the others, but they're not thinking straight. I don't need this blade. You do.
All right, you know I'm no swordsman.
You can learn. You've just proven you could become a bowman.
Well,
and this will protect you in close quarters.
yes, I suppose you're right. Better than the dagger. All right, then. I'll carry it. It's a gift from my elven friend. I'll wear it with honor.
Thank you, Edward.
He smiles and he just pats you on the shoulder. And he gets up and grabs his bow.
She sits there for a moment longer before she also stands up.
How does his form look? Is he all right?
Yeah. Is he holding the sword?
No, the
Right.
bow.
The
He
bow.
grabbed it. He's got the bow again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she kind of comes over to your arm and kind of just moves your hand just slightly up on the grip a little bit, moves your elbow just like a titch more, so it's like a little bit more straight. Now, the last thing I can tell you is when you pull back, take a breath, hold it, and then fire.
He lets go. And right on target, right on top of the arrow he had just shot. And he just gives a warm smile. And I think that's where the scene ends.
Beautiful, beautiful. Both of you, please take a point of inspiration. Okay. So at some point through the celebrations, the Duchess is going to address the people of Shaneen, the people who are left here in Angorshire. All of you are present, I would imagine, in some facet or another. Some of you may be kind of up on the whatever platform or dais that she's making this kind of address from, kind of back behind her. Actually, all of you probably would be, given that you are, you know, kind of the heroes of the moment, as it were. So she looks down as the people gather below, and she kind of holds her hands out to call for quiet. And as the din of the gathered people kind of dulls to a light roar, she says, "People of Shaneen, our suffering is at an end. Our fight is over. Now is a time for peace and rebuilding. Now is our time for healing, and we will do so together, as enemies turned allies. As it was in the time of King Mathuran, no orc shall want for a single need, so long as House Criminac holds these lands." She brings out the remainders of the Thunderhoof tribe before her people. Currently held in chains. And as she says this last bit, this no orc shall want, she gives a nod to the people who led them here, who begin undoing their chains in front of her people, showing them publicly that these Thunderhoof are now exonerated. She nods to you, Tord, to come forth with XXXIII's head and present it for the people of Angorshire to see.
Tord hefts the massive head of XXXIII and brings it forward.
As you kind of haul it up onto, the banister or something next to the Duchess, she gestures towards it. And she says, "This is the head of XXXIII, the head hunter, the Khan of the Thunderhoof tribe, who has been defeated by none other than Sir Tord Masaka." And she kind of gestures to you, Tord. He is now the Khan of the Thunderhoof tribe, and he has pledged his sword to me and House Krumenak. She kind of pumps her fist up into the air, and the crowd goes crazy. Everybody's throwing hats and, whatever they were eating up into the air, begins screaming and cheering. She then says, "It is also my great honor to announce that Tord's house, the House Masaka, will now be newly minted nobles, serving as bannermen to House Krumenak for the future. These are your heroes. These are the future of Vykaril." And she kind of steps back and gestures to the gathered 5 of you standing there, and the crowd loses it. In the days that follow, none of you is going to find yourself wanting for drink. Everybody is eager to buy you whatever it is that you're interested in, and possibly even beyond that. So if you're not careful, you very well may end up schnickered. Okay. Is there any business that any of you wants to handle or anything before we kind of start to leave, or get to the point where we are leaving, Shanine? I know, Eddard, you're waiting for word, so I know that's definitely one of the things we'll cover. Does anybody have anything else?
Yeah, Dane wants to go see someone about getting toward a shield.
Okay, easily doable.
I'll just go with that. You for that?
You can go with me for that?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure, certainly.
So, I don't imagine with Tord with me we should have too much issue with this, but I'd like to go to the what do you call it? Not the goldsmith, but like a someone who works in fine metals, as well as the armor smith. And very excitedly, when we get into this room to talk to them about this shield idea, Dane kind of just pushes this smith's tools to the side, and he rolls out this piece of parchment that he's drawn on, and it's not a great drawing. It's not a great drawing, but I think he can work with it. But it's the shield is 2 horses rampant, so standing on their hind legs, facing each other, and one is sort of that big burly horse that would be representative of like the steppes and those tribes. And then another one is that same horse, a bit more refined. This one's barded. This one has its saddle on it. And it's those two horses with the two black birds of the house. It's like underneath of it. So like where their like hooves are clashing up top, underneath of it are two black birds, and it's sort of set onto that dark green background. Is how Dane has it drawn. And he just looks up at you like, what do you think? It's a little when you gotta use it, it's a little gaudy.
I mean, I'll use it. I have no problem. If you're going to use it, I'll use it to protect myself. But I'm just saying that the last two shields I've had splintered by my foes, brutal and thunderous blows.
And I look at the armor smith. I'm like, you guys hear this? It's got to be strong. Like he can't keep going.
It really does have to be a solid quality,
right?
Kind of nod. I think that's something we could do. You got a coin.
I am a new shield house under House Criminac. Of course I have coin.
All right.
Dan kind of holds up his hand and just puts a coin bag down on the table, like clink.
They kind of like look at each other, scoop up the bag. All right, we'll get started.
I felt bad because the last one I got you, I mean, he only hit it twice before it just wasn't there anymore.
Dane, his sword was thicker than my thigh. I don't even know if you can call that a sword. It didn't cut at all.
It's like a big iron bar. Club.
Felt like a big iron bar.
See, I told you that the bringing them back here was a good idea.
It was.
It looks good on you.
What?
Being a leader.
We'll see. It's taxing. It's a lot of bureaucracy.
Well, luckily, just do what Eddard does. Make someone else do that part.
I intend to speak with him before we leave.
Your brother-in-law?
Eddard.
You can't make Eddard be in charge of it.
No, more of insight. I was told once that the secret to success is prior knowledge, and I don't have any of that in this regard.
But your brother-in-law does.
He does, and I'll be consulting with him as well. And I have been speaking with him over the last week in regards to organization of the men and women that we are acclimating into the Shire. I've been offered a lot of drinks and I haven't taken any of them.
Can I change that?
I've got a couple more things to do. I'm in the right headspace. I'd hate to change it.
Well, where to next?
We can go talk to Eddard.
Sure. I'll listen to boring how to run.
Well, really, you don't have to go.
No. I'll go. It's fine. It keeps me away from Ari yelling at me more.
You know, you should get like a hobby.
I do. It's being yelled at.
That sounds kind of weird.
Oh no.
You know, you could like get wood carving tools, or like, you could get into like brewing, you know, your own beer or something. You got a lot of. You don't have to get yelled at all the time.
I've been saying that since I was Sir John's squire.
You really kind of gravitate towards these people that vent their love for you with concern.
Mostly through yelling.
What was your home life like?
Oh. My dad was always gone. He does something. And I mean, my mom did the best she could, but she I guess the popular term now is witch. And my sister, well, she was really little last time I saw her. Now
So
she's, you know,
where's the yelling come from then? What's that about?
I think it has less to do with my upbringing and more to do with theirs.
Hmm.
I mean, we healed Sir John's dad, and he yelled at him for that.
Yeah, no. Now when you say it that way,
Ari got yelled at through owl poop.
yeah,
It's just the people, like, I suppose Eddard's probably next.
well, if Eddard starts yelling at you, you're about his size. Just yell at him back. Probably shouldn't do that in public. He is of a higher, like, stately position.
I know. Tord, do you remember when we first were traveling together? And a lot of the nights I would tell you and everybody else the fairy tales, the stories I had read, like, and how we were kind of like that.
Sure.
Don't tell anybody else, but I can't remember them anymore. None of them.
Well, Dane, and I'm not trying to be dismissive. That's not what I mean.
No.
But do you think you got what you needed from them? Because more often than not, it seems that our moral compass is derived by the off person in our group, the odd man out, which tends to be either you or someone in that vein as well. If you got this moral compass from the stories, well, if you manifest the moral compass, do you need the stories? You are the story. And in truth, you're not naive anymore to believe that that's the way the world is. They're good for kids, but you're grown, lad. Look at you. My only regret for you is I wish you could tell more people those stories because it brought you joy. And for that, I am sad. Make new ones, better ones, with truth and hard choices, and gray areas, and doing the right thing when nobody watches. You know, night things.
You ever you ever thought about taking on a squire? Not me. just in general? I don't want to go through that again.
Recently, yes, I have been considering it greatly. I've got a lot of responsibilities now. I could use help.
I think you'd be good at that too.
Maybe. I was fortunate. I learned from wise men and experience. Oh, a god awful lot of experience.
Like your dad?
Yeah. Like my dad.
Yeah.
Well, I need to speak with the Lord on how to be a lord. Well, to be honest, I don't know if that even goes to me or if it's just to my family.
Well, you're part of your family, so I imagine it goes to you.
Right, but I'm kind of sworn to another house right
Yeah, but isn't that kind of like a princess of one family marrying a prince of another family?
now. I don't know.
I think it is.
There's a lot of intricacies to this whole process that I don't fully understand. Am I a princess? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I was more thinking you were the prince. But I guess that makes
I
sense.
mean, I could be one of
Princess.
those too, I guess.
I don't think it really matters unless we can't stop the war.
Yeah. We will. We will stop the war.
And reforge a sword and save the world.
I keep remembering that part of that rhyme says something about a dragon. Something about dragon's fire. That's like the worst part of the dragon.
The teeth are pretty bad.
Right, but listen. Fire sucks.
Maybe it's what do you call those? Like an analogy?
Yeah, but also like out of all of them, that wouldn't be like comparative or metaphorical. That one seems like the most just like brutal for the sake of being brutal. Go do this thing to prove your steel. Shit, man. It's a fucking dragon.
I don't remember in the stories that when Camagel was forged the first time it being that difficult. Like in the stories, it literally just shows up.
Well, what the fuck?
Nothing's been easy about this. Why would that be easy?
I just collected like 60 fucking helmets.
It would really suck if that was supposed to be the metaphor.
God damn it.
All right. Well, we should stop worrying about dragons. You should start worrying
Yeah,
about
we're
which
borrowing
fork do you,
trouble.
right? Which fork to eat shrimp with or something.
No. We have to go to the elves.
They don't eat shrimp.
Do they eat meat at all?
Not most of them.
I wonder where they get their protein from. I know there's a lot of nuts and stuff you can supplement your diet with to get an adequate amount of protein, but
You ask Ari.
no. I can't. I'm gonna go find Edit.
Maybe Eder knows about Ari's nuts.
Once again, I'm not gonna ask that. I'm leaving now. This is the most Midwestern goodbye I've ever had in the D&D game.
Both of you, please take a point of inspiration. You fuckers. Oh my god. I am dead.
I don't know where I find you. I don't know if Jeremy has anything he wants to throw in there.
No, remind me about the ingots before you guys depart. But you can go ahead and head to find Eddard. Yeah,
we
let's
had
do
agreed
this
that we were getting
first.
like a cart and stuff to transport. We have to carry those around with us now, don't we?
What's that?
The ingots.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
was
but
it just like a few ingots?
Yeah, it's only gonna. I mean, I don't think it takes very many to forge a sword. Maybe one, maybe two. So, I imagine that you would be getting like 3 or 4 ingots of this metal.
Oh yeah, the stuff that I had wanted to melt down. I mean, to make like a sword, I think it's only. I don't think it's much more metal than like those ingots on the Mandalorian, right? I don't
Real
think
small.
it's very much at all.
Yeah, it might not be.
But I did imagine that we would melt down several of them just in case.
Sure. Yep.
Give one to each one of us as a memento. Make
Wear
sure
it
they're
around your
not
neck.
all in the same room at the same time. You know, just standard precautions.
So it's 1 kilogram for a one-handed sword and 1/10 that amount in iron.
Yeah.
So steel to iron. So like we gotta carry like 2 kgs of steel with us.
We got horses.
Yeah,
I can
without
talk
a
to
doubt.
We got pockets. That's light.
So the ingots that you get, though, are kind of interesting. Let's see if I can get the thing brought up here. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, when you're given them to you, the smelters, they seem kind of confused as to why they turned out this way. They have this kind of bluish kind of iridescence to them. This strange kind of almost marbled look on the texture. But they seem to weigh the same and look the same, aside from this outside coloration to be steel.
Also, before we segue away from that, I have a liaison working with my brother-in-law for the tribe to kind of like get that to coexist. Other than that, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. Okay. So yeah, you head to find Eddard. And Eddard, what are you up to?
You find Eddard 3 or 4 tankards down in an inn somewhere, drinking off whatever it was that happened this past week. It's been a blur.
Tord approaches, grabs a chair, and like clasps your shoulder back as he like uses you to sit on his stool. Lord Pendrake. He like gestures to the barkeep.
Please sit. It is so good to see you, my friend.
You've been rather aloof lately. I'm happy to see I got you to myself, it would seem.
Yes, it has been interesting.
Truthfully, I can't even begin to describe the roller coaster. They wouldn't know what a roller coaster is. The hills I've been going over.
I can't imagine it's any worse for me than it is for you. Barkeep, 2, please.
Well, you would see I have seemed as if I have had landed a territory of my own.
Very good. Yes, I heard that the House Masaka is nobility now.
As per House Criminac.
I hope to speak with the Duchess Sketha before we leave, and hopefully forge some sort of alliance between House Pendrake and House Criminac. I'm sure it shouldn't be much of an issue here. I take it we've done a good thing for them, and they've done much for us as well.
Well, I can assure you that House Masaka will only help usher that alliance in. My mind wanders at the thought of the cultural exchange my people could have with the lands to the west, Rasenfleot, with those lines of communication open. What changes could come? Advancements.
I suppose it is almost a renaissance as it was in the past.
It could be.
To see humans and Angorians working so closely together really brings a spot of joy in my heart.
Hopefully it continues. I beseech you with a question, Lord Pendrake.
I may have an answer, but go ahead.
Where is your next ambition? What is your next goal? Where do you head next?
It seems as if the past week I've been flying by the seat of my own dungarees. I'm not sure what's next for me, but what's next for us? I suppose that's a better question. Of course, I would like to head back to Malrich at some point. Maybe stop in and see Reagan. Other than that, I'm just awaiting word to see how my barony is doing in my absence. I don't know where to go from here, honestly.
Our ambitions, I think, should turn north, beyond the wall.
Back to Elven territory.
We weren't finished when we left the last time.
I agree. Ben Shell's absence has been most startling. I'm not sure what's going on.
I'm not either, and the tales of this plague trouble me even more.
Yeah, you see, I'd kind of shudder thinking about the plague. Ugh.
Well, between you, me, Sir John, we're starting to gain a little traction, at least in the political swing. Maybe we can make the moves to change it.
Perhaps I think we owe it to Ari.
I agree. I wonder where Sir John is. It's been some time since I've seen him. Have you?
I haven't seen him.
You look a little ill. Perhaps, and like Tord slides the cup away as Eddard maybe puts his head down on the bar.
Yes, maybe I should slow down.
Sir John, are you at all present in the area?
I think, yeah, I'm probably at the moment when you say, has anyone seen Sir John around? You can see in the background of the shot that there's like a card table in the back set up, and I'm like just super into the card game. and like anybody who knows me, I don't play a lot of cards. This isn't a typical thing for me, but for whatever reason, this game just has me in its grips. And I think whenever you move the cup for Eddard to sort of pass out on, I think you hear me like, ah, no! And I throw the cards down and I get up and I'm just like super frustrated. Gah, lost an entire purse of coin tonight.
It comes and it goes, and I hand you my untouched like tankard, and then I take Eddard's.
I think I take the one in your hand and I'm like, that's weird. And so I do a double take and then I see Eddard and I'm like, what happened to him?
Upset stomach.
Ah, yes. Bad games upset my stomach too. Here, cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Clanks the tankards.
You wouldn't believe how badly I was fleeced by those morons back there. Ugh, I'd like to meet them on a battlefield.
Their traditional card games are quite entertaining, but if you aren't wise in their plights, they will take advantage.
Well, of course I'm wise. Hello. Scion of a noble house here.
Heyo.
And you as well. Cheers again.
Hey. Which, actually, do you have time?
Sure. What's on your mind?
A lot of things, actually. He sets this tankard down that he hasn't drank any of. If you don't mind.
No, please tell me.
Well, I have no idea what I'm doing.
None whatsoever?
None.
When you're in these situations where you're being told your noble duties, do you just feel completely out of water?
I can hear the words, like they're saying things at me, but I have no idea what they mean.
I've had the same problem my entire life.
You know what makes sense, John?
What?
And he like gestures to his sword belt. This
Yes.
makes sense.
And you know what doesn't make sense? And I whip out, like I've got a satchel hanging from my shoulder and I just flop it down. Look at all these missives and decrees. I'm not used to doing this without my staff. I'll tell you that much.
John, I cannot write well. I don't practice. It's incredibly difficult.
If my retainers were still with us, if I hadn't sent them away because of how dangerous our lives have become, perhaps you could have learned your letters. If you had even told me back then, I would have been happy to give you some lessons. The point here, Tord, is that what you need is a staff. You need a quartermaster to take care of all of your material affairs. You need a treasurer to count the coin, to make sure you're not spending it too much on ale and frivolous card games. You need, I like to have a hunter around in case I'm feeling up for traipse through the woods, perhaps a game beast for dinner. A scribe would help you learn to write and could just write things for you if you prefer. Marvelously, devilishly useful, those scribes. Are you taking notes or should I just keep going?
No, it's a steel trap.
Ah, yes, and I think I like I knock on your head and I go dong dong.
Well, in truth, I've been considering taking a squire.
A squire?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I've always kind of envied how you've been able to train and teach and help Dane grow as a human.
I think I'm drinking at that point when you say that. When you say envied, I'm like, oh, like choke on it a little bit. It's kind of you to say, Tord, but I don't know if you noticed, it was very difficult. It was tumultuous, and I felt conflicted, and that there was often no right choice. It was quite challenging. I wasn't expecting it.
And I anticipate every bit of that.
I will tell you, you can have an easier time of it if you find a squire who is dumber than you. I think that was one of my mistakes.
He just speaks very eloquently.
Dane?
Dane speaks well. He speaks very well.
Yes, I know him.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily one of you is smarter than the other. I just think he speaks really well.
Dane is... I can find my way around a battlefield better than just about anyone I know, but Dane is smarter than me. There is no doubt about that. How many stories does the boy know? The man know?
All right. He does have a knack for stories.
Oh, so many. One for every occasion, it seems.
I think you say it best when intelligence is perspective based. We all have our strengths. But perhaps you could help me find a squire. Someone that we could agree on.
Certainly. I would be happy. I found Dane, if memory serves, because I broke up a fight that he was involved in. I presided over a fight.
I don't audition for a squire. I find someone that I feel I should teach.
I think there are two common ways to do it. Either you there is an arrangement made, perhaps by your parents or some other nobility to which you are indebted, or you just sort of feel it out. And if it feels right, then see if they want to be a squire. One thing I'll tell you, I expected as a knight before, as a brand new knight, I thought I'd be getting more offers from squires, but it turns out I think they're intimidated by us.
Yeah, I could see that.
I never had problems talking to my superiors on the battlefield. I just didn't prefer to do it in a courtyard.
To be honest, I learned a lot from Sir Warwick, but it was much more informal. We were on the road a lot.
Well, what I can recommend also is a little bit more discipline, perhaps. Are you familiar with barrel rolling? It cleans out chainmail like you wouldn't believe.
You'll have to remind me.
Oh, yes. Well, I think I overheard Ari and Lord Edda talking about his swordsmanship skills, and I don't know if you've noticed, but I've seen some room for improvement. And nothing builds character or strength like rolling a sandy barrel up a hill. We could develop a training regimen for him. He probably shouldn't be your squire, though. He's your lord. That is
yes, there are technicalities there that would not allow it.
Well, I'm sure we'll find one. Do you want to find one before we set out, or on the road?
I'll take my time. I think I have an idea for where I am to look.
Yes. In the meantime, perhaps there's some sort of, I don't know, perhaps a marshal at some fortress or castle who could have advice for you. Perhaps someone in Ravenfleet.
Perhaps.
Not that we're headed there. I'm sorry. I'm not terribly helpful tonight.
Sir John, your company is all the help I need.
Wonderful. I wish I could get my mind off of this damn card game. And I shout back to the people at the table.
Let me show you how it's played. And I'm going to sit down with Sir John as we segue from our antics.
Excellent. Okay, so one thing that we'll handle once Josh gets back. Toward when it is time to leave, your family all gathers together. They seem to struggle a little with having to say goodbye to you, though. They know that it's necessary. They know that you have business that's going to take you elsewhere. And though it's a tearful parting, they send you with love and the best of wishes. And your mother, the last thing she tells you is she kind of like pats your face, kind of straightens the collar on your cloak. She says, "No, you make sure you be careful. I know that you're always getting involved in dangerous business that would be fine even if you didn't get involved, but I understand that, well, Tord, you're a capable young man. They need your help. Just please be careful."
I will act with care, but I cannot lie to you. Where I go, there will be many dangers. But I shall have no fear in my heart. I will go forth and work the will of good in Vykaril to the best that I can.
You have already done so much for us as a family, as Angorians. I know that you will make Vykaril herself proud, Tord.
Vykaril needs to know I am not done.
And when you continue to say your name, you say it with pride. Remember where you've come from. Okay. Josh, you said you are there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. So you are at one point approached by the Duchess, Sketha. I know that you had made mention of wanting to speak with her at some point. She actually comes to you at some point during one of the dinners. Again, the celebrations have been kind of going on for a while now, several days. And while a lot of the people are kind of filling the taverns or the temporary drinking stalls that have kind of popped up throughout the city of Shenin, you're a noble, so you would have been allowed kind of to sit at the tables inside the court whenever those celebrations are going on. So at some point, she kind of, not corners you, but finds you kind of off to the side, and she approaches you. I heard that you wanted to speak with me, Lord Bainton.
Yes, my lady.
What can I do for you?
You know, it has been some time since humans and Angorians have worked together, and I was telling my good knight Tord that we have both done much for each other, and we just hope that these allegiances would stay, at least for the time being. I feel that there's much we could do for each other.
I agree. Sir Tord is a brave warrior, and I think he will become a good leader for his people, for his house. I think that he will serve
He's a
you
special
well.
man. I agree.
Indeed. And I'm thankful that you came all this way to involve yourselves in his family's affairs, in truth, in our affairs. We certainly benefited from it. If there is something that House Pendrake can ask of House Criminac, then I would gladly fulfill that oath.
Those words bring much ease to my heart. Thank you, my lady.
And to mine. I had long resigned myself to the fact that the kingdom of men had forgotten about our little corner of Vykaril. It's good to know that we still have allies in court.
Here's to better days.
The better days. I wonder, she kind of says for a moment, and then she motions over to someone who brings an ornate box over towards you as a token of our friendship. I found this looking through our treasury. I couldn't help but notice. Well, here. And she reaches over and opens this box. Inside it, you see a perfect match to the dagger that you have been carrying since you started on this adventure. This dagger seems to belong to you. She kind of gestures to the one you carry at your belt.
What is this? May I?
Please.
He picks it up and examines all of the intricacies of the dagger, and it is an exact 1-to-1.
It is an exact mirror of your own dagger. So where the claw at the pommel would be asymmetrical, it mirrors that. So that if held in each hand, they would mirror one another.
This is incredible. I thought this was Mathuran Gabrain's dagger. I didn't know that there were two.
It would appear that King Mathuran must have made two for Gabrain, for your not descendant, your ancestor. One must have been gifted or left on purpose here, and it's been in the stores of House Criminac this entire time. But seeing this pairing on your hip and discussing our truce, our bond, I thought perhaps this would be a good token of that faith.
Very well, I shall carry it. Thank you. The House Pendrake and the Barony of Raisin Flayout is at your whim, should you need something.
Then the East and the West are unified. This is good. It's been an honor to meet you, Lord Pendrake.
Likewise, my lady.
Can I piggyback on this?
Certainly.
Could this
Come on
be
in.
like a private intro at the beginning of a larger sort of council style meeting to talk about that alliance in like actual bureaucratic detail?
Certainly.
Cool. So yeah, I think at that point then, like once the other counselors filter in, and I think any one of us are welcome to be there, but Sir John would definitely do it. I think he kind of presents this idea that if East and West are going to be unified, then right now, in this historical moment, they need to be militarized together as well. And so I think he's got his like calligrapher's tools that he's carried along this entire way. And I think he's drawn up like a pretty good looking, it's a proposal, but it's like similar to a roll of heraldry that shows noble houses in a given region. He's got several sheets that detail like what the military makeup would be like for both an Eastern and a Western army. And each one of them would be made up of 4 brigades that are commanded by marshals, but both the Eastern and the Western army, Sir John's only ever detailed like 3 of those 4 brigades. And so then after he makes his presentation, he would be like, if this is agreeable to Shanin, then you need only try and identify a 4th brigade, and we can begin to put these together on a formal level.
Will House Lightenor still have the numbers? She kind of asks, almost like gently.
Right. I think Sir John, takes it in stride, and he's like, well, as you can see, Kerwal will only contribute a single brigade. The Western army will be made up of also Cavalon and Razenflot, as well as a 4th duchy as soon as we can make ourselves indispensable to one, or until our renown grows accordingly. But here in Angershire, the Gothesca, capable cavalry and what have you, the forces here at Shanin, of course, academically trained in engineering and capable archers. You've weathered the siege this long. Thunderhoof would also provide cavalry. There's potential here, but we would all be working together, both in the East and the West.
You make a good argument, Sir John. This is certainly something that I would like to put my name to. If there is a way to save Vykaril. Again, the orcs of Angor were once a part of that vision, and I would see that they would remain a part of that. And if there's a way that we can work our share of unifying the kingdom once more, with stronger emphasis on equality, then you can count on me and my people.
Excellent. Now, as far as the command of these armies is concerned, I did not want to presume that you would make yourself available beyond your own borders. I understand this disaster that's befallen you will take time to recover from. I also think it's prudent that the commanders of the armies are at the front lines continually. And so for that reason, I would offer myself as Knight Commander of the Vykarilian army, and our own Masaka Tord as Knight Commander of the Angurian army, supported by the rest of us and worthy retainers and noblemen all, of course.
She kind of looks around the room, and her eyes settle on Tord for a moment. I think that this arrangement is solid. And if Sir Tord agrees, then I will have him represent Angor.
It'd be an honor.
And your lord, Lord Pendrake, do you give him leave to arm such a force, to head such a force, should the need arise?
I do.
Very well. She then kind of motions for, someone to come forward with like a small tray, sets it down on the table. It's got, like the candle that's going to help heat the wax, and the inkwell that has the quill. She signs her name to it, Then they pour the wax upon it, and she takes her signet and then kind of presses it down into it, signing with her mark.
I think Sir John follows if that's like something that's supposed to happen. If like, everybody's signature needs to be on there or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. Feels pretty formal, official.
My freshly crafted signet ring.
Yeah, I suppose you would need one now. Indeed, indeed.
Something like that.
Maybe even with the 2 horses and the birds as designed by Dane. Okay.
We tried making a shield and it came out really small.
We forgot to change the settings in the
that.
3D printer.
But it's very strong.
We made it out of vibranium. So I think it's probably just before the morning that you're supposed to leave. It's probably that night that the weather is awful. It's raining. The festivities have all moved indoors, and they're very crowded. And the mood is somewhat dampened, but the people are still giving it their all. And Eddard, I guess you're probably staying at the palace, at the keep itself. Again, being a baron, visiting the land, I imagine that's the kind of luxury that you would be afforded. And there is a knock at your door.
Yes, how can I help you?
Lord Bainton, there's a package that has arrived for you. A missive.
He opens the door.
This palace messenger essentially kind of hands you this leather satchel that's still closed and clasped. You can feel it has a pretty healthy stack of paper inside of it.
Eric gives him a gold piece.
He bows. Thank you, my lord. Once you kind of bring them back into your quarters and sit down at your sitting desk, kind of open this satchel up and start to spread through these papers, you can see that it is a very detailed account, though you can tell it is hastily written. And Thomas Kane's handwriting is not exactly the practiced penmanship of a noble. But about halfway through the papers, it seems like it's getting better. You can tell that, what was his name? Alium? I think his name was Alium. Was another individual that you had sent back to join you at Reisenfleot. You start seeing notations kind of added by him, and eventually the writing is completely taken over by him. And his handwriting is very... has a lot of loops and is very, flowing and is very well penned. But Reisenfleot seems to be doing very well. It is prospering by all accounts. The coffers are very quickly dwindling, but that's because they were swollen to begin with. With the ill-gotten gains of the previous baron. But Thomas details where he is spending all of this coin, and most of it is going to fixing roads that hadn't been repaired in a long time, making sure that those who were out of work were at least able to be fed, and making repairs to the kingdom's armory, replenishing supplies and things. So it seems like he's doing a really good job, and it sounds like the kingdom is, or the barony is prospering. The trade has been reestablished along the river, and the river has been cleaned up quite a bit. So it seems to be doing pretty well under his stewardship.
Very good.
And he probably even details, some about the war that is happening to the south of your barony. The war between House Lathelbrin and Melowain. But it doesn't seem like he's gotten himself too involved in it. It's just kind of a lot of hearsay.
Probably for the best.
Okay. So, unless there's any other business that you want to touch on, I think we're ready to leave Shenin and head east, or west rather. Head west back into the kingdom of Vykaril. Cool. All right, I think this is where we're going to take our break. So we're going to take 10 minutes, go to the bathroom, refill our drinks, smoke them if you got them, kiss your spouse, etc., etc. Sit tight, everybody, and we will be right back, and we'll come back with part 2 of Calm Before the Storm. We'll be right back. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everybody, from the break. We are here with Beneath the Banner Shadow. This is session 32, Calm Before the Storm. So, you have finished up your business here in Angorshire, in the city of Shenin, and are packing up and leaving, headed westward, back into the kingdom itself, back into the heart of Vykaril. So, quite a bit has transpired since you last traveled this road. Some of you have come close to death. Some of you have earned new titles. All of you have gained a fair bit of wealth to your name and prestige. And for the first time in a while, you find yourselves traveling through countryside that isn't charred and desolate and sad. You're almost overwhelmed at the amount of noise of the world around you. The flying and the buzzing of insects, the chirping and the skittering of small woodland creatures through the forest around you, the call of birds that is almost incessant everywhere you travel, but the abundance of life, the virulent greens and the colorful flowers and berries that you pass along the road, it's almost too much to take compared to the bleak, black, gray landscape that you have been traveling for weeks now almost. But as amazing as all of that is, you find yourself with just the 5 of you again. The first time that's been the case since you returned to Shenin. The several days that you spent there, you were inundated with constant call for your attention, even if it's just some noise that happens off to the side out in the street. So you find yourself, some of you, in quiet contemplation as you ride for the many miles that it's going to take before you reach Malrich, which will be the road that then turns northward and heads towards Gendon's Wall. So as you're riding along, what is the general mindset of your characters? What's the mood or the conversation like? God, you give them one thing and they just won't stop talking, but then you ask for them to talk and then they don't talk, and it's just really awkward and weird.
Eddard is probably playing with his new harp a little bit, just kind of noodling around. He's familiar with string instruments, but he has never been formally trained on the harp.
I think every day of the trip, there's a moment where Sir John tries to happen to see Eddard practicing sword stuff and then interjecting and trying to train him a little bit. And I think that every time, he'll stumble into the tent and Eddard won't be practicing with his sword, or he'll come around a corner as hoping to see it, and Eddard's playing on the harp and he's this is fine. So I think it never quite works out for Sir John, but he's always on the alert for a moment.
If Eddard is doing combat training, it's more than likely with his short bow. But if you were paying close enough attention, and I don't know if it would have been discussed prior to leaving, he is wearing on each side 2 daggers, and on his back, near right above his butt, he's got the scimitar sheathed across. So he's wearing 2 daggers where he was normally just wearing 1.
One piece of information that I forgot to mention to you, by the way, Josh, and it's probably the kind of thing that would have slowly become apparent to Eddard. now that you have this set of daggers back together again, both of them function as +1 weapons.
Oh, sweet.
I think the one moment where it's closest that Sir John might actually teach you some sword stuff, I think he comes around the corner and you're practicing your short bow, and he's like, "Oh, wonderful to be practicing the knightly arts out here." And oh, I see you've got new blades. So many small blades. Do you use them?
Occasionally.
Occasionally. Do you know how?
I'm pretty confident with the daggers.
Yes, probably more than I would be. Daggers aren't my forte.
The sword's a little heavy.
This one, this is a sword. Yes. You're right. It is heavy, but it builds character.
I'm sure it's not heavy for a guy like you, yeah? I see you have to run that halberd.
Well, you're right. It wouldn't be difficult for me to move that around. You might have heard me earlier mention to Ari that I just wouldn't even know what to do with it on the battlefield. It's so... it's not that it's agile, because I mean, a longsword is agile in the right hands, a halberd is agile in the right hands. It's and I think Sir John just like rambles for too long about the finer points between scimitars and halberds. He gets kind of stuck on that for a little bit.
You know what? Eddard would oblige your training with the scimitar at least a couple times.
I think it's subpar. I think he tries to teach you to use it like it's a much heavier, longer weapon. It's clear he's like, well, I think at the end of it, he says something like, I think what I've learned today is that I need to implement some more one-handed weapon instruction into my own, the school, the Lightno school.
You know, the eagle does have 2 talents.
Quite so, quite so. Variety of tools and weapons at its disposal. Yes, I'm going to go think about this for a little while, and then stumbles off.
Ari, do you have a moment?
You probably caught Ari at a moment where she's just staring off into space, like off into the distance, the hills. Just, you're not quite sure what she's thinking, but as soon as she hears your voice, she kind of startles a little bit. What is it?
Well, I was wondering if you would like to go pick mushrooms now that things are growing back.
She just like stares at you.
We have to make camp for the evening anyway. It's a good time to pick them.
Are you sending me on an errand to get me out of camp?
I'm coming with you. Or I can go by myself. You don't even have to go.
Oh no, I'll come with you. You'd pick the wrong ones.
Excuse me?
Well, you would.
I
don't
would
even know
not.
your horn-toad mushroom from your fancy-toad mushroom.
I will not be patronized in this way. You don't even know what I know. I lived outside for like 8 years.
Well, so does a bear, but I wouldn't
And a
trust
bear?
it with harvesting mushrooms
You'd be
either.
foolish. You would be foolish. A bear is very wise in the ways of the woods.
But they don't eat mushrooms.
It's not the point.
It is the point.
I would eat a mushroom that a bear ate.
Ew. Well, that's quite nasty.
Prospectively, I suppose.
Fine. You show me what you know about mushrooms, and I'll show you what I know about mushrooms.
Very well. I do want to roll for this because I need to know.
Sure,
I
absolutely.
need to know what I know about mushrooms.
So this sounds like probably a nature.
Could I push for survival?
Yeah, I would say so. Yep.
Cool, because I'm not actually that great at either of those skills.
That sounds about right.
Not bad.
What'd you get?
12 total.
12. So I mean, you pick a healthy amount of mushrooms that you know are edible, and you're able to probably bring back enough that you could make like a soup out of them even. But there's probably one or two that Ari might have to kind of pick out that would probably have given everybody the runs or something. So while they are edible, maybe not the best for on the road, but you certainly found a lot that are perfectly viable for making a soup.
I think maybe she catches a couple of them and it doesn't really discard them, but maybe puts them in a pouch for later. These ones are best served cold, if you have my drift.
I suppose.
But not bad for your first try.
Fuck off. Good God.
I love how Ari turns her nose up at a magic weapon. She's like, no. But these mushrooms that give you the shits, give them me. Give me those.
Those will come up in
Priorities.
Chekhov's mushrooms.
Yeah,
we
for
are traveling north, it would seem. And, well, we don't have a lot of idea of what to expect beyond the wall. I don't. I know I didn't exactly set you up for success with the people and culture here. So I want to try and be courteous and ask if you can teach me some of the formalities as to not hurt the cause.
You can see that she wants to give a sassy comeback to you at this moment. But she's realizing, she just kind of picks up the sincerity that Tord is actually coming across with right now. Are you sure?
Ari, I don't want to fucking pick mushrooms with you. Why the fuck would I ever ask you to do that if there wasn't some ulterior motive? This has been miserable. You didn't even pick any.
Well, don't you were doing such a good job. Why would I?
I digress. I wouldn't ask if I didn't mean it.
There are things I'll tell you not to do. Just don't argue with me about them. Just accept it as truth. There's a long history here, and I'm not going to tell you at all.
Well, I will say that I am ready to let the wave overtake me. I won't fight it.
All right. First is...
Well, hold on. I will say, I understand that our people don't exactly have the most friendly of histories, but you don't need to spare me if it's pertinent. Just say it how it is.
It won't be pleasant for sure, you know. There are many people that see your people as savages. It will be hard. And the first thing you've got to stop doing is sticking those ruddy big palms of yours onto us. Just don't do it. We don't like to be grabbed.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Got that off my chest. Next. You can't eat any meat. Just sorry. Don't do it.
It's funny you say that. I was thinking about this the other day. So, is it like, do you guys use like nuts, or is it, do you eat bugs? You have to have something like substantial.
Of course. We have quite the diet. There's all sorts of things that grow in the ground and underneath it if you know what you're looking for.
Like vegetables or bugs? I need to know.
The vegetables
Do you eat bugs?
and fungus. No, not really. Not if you. They're a
Is
little
that
bit too
considered
crunchy.
meat? But the bugs, there's no meat in it. It's just a bug.
You know.
So
some
are you
people
like,
do, but I don't. I don't like them.
are you willing to eat like the produce of an animal? Like are eggs off limits, or is honey off limits, or
If you're not hurting the creature, it's okay. But if you destroy their home to take the thing, that's not okay.
I'll try.
And you must wash.
Okay.
Daily.
No.
Yeah, it could be a problem then.
I'll chafe.
You'll get used to it. Maybe you should start now.
I'll no.
Work up to it, at least once a week.
Maybe.
It's a start. We'll work on it.
Yeah, I obviously don't expect all the nuances all at once, but over the course of the trip.
Perfect. So it takes some time, several days, if not maybe closer to a week, before you find yourselves kind of coming up and over a bit of a hill, and looking down ahead of you, you see once again the village of Fertile Ground, what you know to be Dame's home village. The people here are going about their daily tasks. Again, something that you weren't exactly used to seeing when in Angorshire. You see livestock at field, shepherds moving them here and there, woodcutters out gathering trees, people fishing, children running around playing with one another. It's honestly, at this point, it's idyllic. It's something that you may have taken for granted before you stepped foot into the tragedy that had befallen the eastern reaches. What's the plan now that you're here in Fertile Ground?
Well, we can sleep in the barn again. I don't imagine my family's house has gotten any bigger. But we can take a break from the road. And a good home-cooked meal. Don't really have any updates on my sister, but, no news is good news, right?
Well, news of a stew is good news enough. I remember your mother's stews.
And your mother will be wanting to see you.
And if we could skip the part about me dying, Just
To be fair, I was going to let you recount the tale yourself.
I think we can next time. I'm
Yes, you
home.
have such a way with words, after all.
In truth, that's really like my least favorite part of the whole thing.
Right. So we'll just skip that for now. Then.
Unless they ask about it. If they ask about it, you'd have to say something.
If my mom directly asks me if I'm dead or died, I will 100% answer that.
Does he still look dead to any of you?
He doesn't look dead. He does look different.
He looked pretty dead for a little while.
He was very dead.
I mean, we buried them or tried to anyway.
No, we successfully buried.
This isn't
He
comforting.
just successfully unburied himself.
I didn't unbury myself. I was in a river.
And he
It's-
appeared like miles down the road.
Yes,
River.
To be fair, for you to get in the river, you had to have been unburied somehow.
I'm unclear. Are you still in the ground? Are you?
So hold on, could we dig somebody up there?
If
I
he's a
don't-
ghost, I really don't think he has any business with the thunder and lightning staff.
I don't.
I feel like we're way beyond that at this point. We've walked days.
I'm just saying we can always revisit things.
I suppose there's nothing.
Part of the
against-
accords of the party. We can always revisit things.
We did agree. Sorry, Dane.
No. It's. I don't imagine it's something that happens every day. As best I can tell you, no, I'm not still on the ground. And the parts of me that were destroyed by the church have been replaced with parts of the sword. That's why I rust.
And
Oh, I
Parts.
just thought it was a skin condition.
Yeah.
No,
I didn't
no.
want to say anything.
I think somehow when Camagel brought me back, it had to do so by infusing me with part of itself. And since magic swords and people aren't supposed to be the same thing, you get this. It's why my sword bleeds when I'm hurt. It's why I lost some of my memories.
So I guess you don't need to tell your mother that you're dead, because I guess you look alive enough now again.
Right.
But what do you plan on telling her about rusting?
Well, luckily it's as long as I keep my sleeves down and it's been a
Okay.
long time since my mother watched me bathe. I think it'll be okay.
All right, and if I see any crumbs spill out, I'll just let you know subtly.
Subtly. This is the second most awkward conversation I've ever had.
What
I'm
was your
like-
first?
I
don't
just
need to
start
go in there.
riding towards my house. Like, nope.
Nope.
What-
I think
was
so.
it
John
something
looks
I
at Ari and
said?
is like, "I'd like to know too."
I wonder if we are that conversation or people involved, participants, one would say.
Surely not.
Oh, of
Although
course not.
this wasn't that awkward, not for me anyway. Was it awkward?
I don't really
for you
see how
two?
it was awkward. Listen,
Didn't feel
when you have magical afflictions, you might as well just wear it on your skin.
But what? I see what you did there. Wear it on your skin, and I think I kind of like gallop off after Dane.
I just lie in wait and kill them all as they ride by.
I cast fireball.
Right. Speaking of that staff, now's a real good time for some lightning bolts.
Told
I
you!
lied. I
He's
lied.
haunted!
I was afflicted by this die.
Fantastic. So, Dane, you ride back again. You know this village forwards and backwards, and are easily able to. cut a shortcut to right up to your house, where your mother is out in the area kind of just out back, trying to get a hold of a chicken. And it's very obvious that she's been chasing this stupid thing around for a while. And at some point, you can see that she's frustrated. Her hair's kind of all out of its tie and kind of frazzled everywhere. There's dirt all over, like the backside of her dress. And as you're kind of like riding up, before she hears your horse, you actually kind of see her look around, not too carefully because she doesn't look your direction, and then she casts a spell at this chicken who, like mid-stride with its wings out, kind of like just like freezes and like falls over sideways, kind of comatose. And she kind of like straightens her hair up and kind of like brushes herself off and goes over and picks the thing up by its feet, turns around and sees you riding up on your horse. Dane?
Yes. We told you we'd be back.
Of course, yes. Welcome. Your friends are here too. Please, come in.
Chicken's giving you trouble?
What? Oh, this? Oh, no. No problem at all. I suppose maybe I should catch a second one. She kind of like looks to the number of you once again.
Don't worry. We have provisions. It'll be fine.
Provisions. Good to eat hardtack and salted pork again.
I would like to present my mushrooms that I scavenged.
She kind of takes the the satchel or the sack or whatever that they're in from you toward. She kind of opens them. Oh, I haven't seen some of these mushrooms since I was a little girl. I think that yes, this will do nicely. Chicken and mushroom soup.
Well, there you have it. We won't be staying long. We have to travel north. But
you're traveling north? How far north?
all the way?
All the way, like...
I kind of looked to Ari and then back to my mom. Like, all the way.
Beyond Ginden's wall again?
Yes.
Well, I see. Well then, we'd better feed you well. Please, all of you. You're welcome to whatever hospitality our small home would provide. Please. She stops you kind of as the last one through the door, Dane. Dane, are you alright? Something seems different.
When we traveled towards homeland, there was a lot of destruction in that direction. A horde had ridden through and burned most of the villages, captured some of the women and children, tortured them.
She kind of like places her hand on her mouth. That sounds... Sorry that you had to see that thing.
It's okay. Tord put it into it. We helped him. but I don't think you can see everything that I saw and not be changed.
Certainly.
On a brighter note, towards heroic deeds, he's a noble now. His family were all elevated.
Well, it
Yeah.
seems every time that you return to me, you're in finer and finer company.
Yeah, I imagine next time Ari will be queen. I kind of laugh with my mom.
She kind of like stops. Do the elves have queens?
No.
Well, you'll have to find out and let me know.
Sure we will.
Are you sure that you're all right, though? That something seems different.
So I kind of like pull her to the side, like maybe like near a kitchen window. Do you remember how I told you I had seen grandmother?
Yes.
So it turns out I was mistaken.
It wasn't her.
Yes and no. So it turns out that my connection to magic is actually through the sword Camagel.
The king's sword. Camagel.
Yes.
Okay. Well.
I didn't know this, and I don't imagine too many people did, but it's powerful enough that it actually has a being of its own, a will of its own.
I suppose that makes sense. I've heard of such things. My mother once spoke of them. I didn't think any of them were still around.
It's only around in so much, but I think that realization that this sword is sort of using me as a conduit, there's just been a lot of changes, a lot of realizations. Maybe that's why I seem off.
Of course, and I didn't mean there was anything wrong with you, Dane. No. Please forgive me. A mother's curiosity. That's all. And she kind of ushers you into the hut.
So has father been traveling a lot again? Is he around? We were thinking that perhaps he had some news, some stories, as he often does.
You find that your father is still in town.
Okay.
He has traveled, but not anything
Major.
very far. Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to remember. Do you remember what is the name of your father?
Dad.
Oh, there it is. Martin. There we go. So yeah, after you've been there for just a little while, your father will come back in. He's carrying, like a bundle of firewood that he's brought back. That hopefully will get you through the next few days. And when he comes in, he says, "I saw the horses outside. I was hoping it was you."
Well, it is. We was telling Mother we have to travel north, and so I figured we'd stop in and see you. Take a
Of
rest on the
course.
road.
It's good to see you again. It looks like you got rid of that old nag you were riding last time.
Yes. Towards family was gracious enough to give me one of their horses.
Angorian steed. Oh. You do keep good company, son. Lords, ladies, he kind of like bows to all of you.
Wow. I don't even know. I want to tell you so much about what's happened, but so much of it's depressing.
Well, you're safe. You've returned, and it seems as if you're healthy, happy. So that's good enough for me. If you want to tell me about it, then I'll certainly listen. Even if it happens to be dour.
So I guess I will sort of tell them, our exploits and towards the land, but I probably, taking that last little conversation with Tord to heart. I try to dress it up a little bit. I'm not going to exaggerate it, but I want to give it in a format that's a little more storybook than just like recounting, the tale to your family.
Certainly. Okay.
Yeah. Again, sort of skipping some of the more terrible parts.
That's fair. They listen with a little more focus and interest than they may have listened to you recounting the stories that you read in a book for the 10th time.
Right.
This one seems they have more vested interest in, largely because it involves you, it would seem. They ask questions about specifications on certain events. And when you finish, your father has kind of, reclined back and has kind of stuffed a pipe with some pipe weed and has lit it. He's kind of drawing on it slowly. He shakes his head and he said, when you used to read those stories when you were younger, Dane, I used to think that they were nothing more than make-believe and fairy tales. I've traveled quite a bit to Vykaril, and I've seen my fair share of danger, my fair share of magic, but the things you've described and seen, I'm astonished.
I think things like that have always been there. Magic's always been there. Monsters, evil kings and princesses, towns that need saving, but it's so much simpler when we view everything from a kitchen window. Problem is, once you've seen it from the outside, I don't think you ever look at it the same again.
It's difficult sometimes to put ourselves into the boots of someone who walks a troubled path. But when we've walked that same path ourselves, it's much easier to understand the truth of the matter. It changes your perspective.
And then riding back into town here, seeing the old men out in the pasture, the kids playing. Like that's think that's why we have to do what we do as much as anything else. Because if we don't do I think everything ends up like it did. Burnt to the ground and people in cages. That's a terrible thought. But luckily, I have these friends. I don't think they're the type of people that will see that happen.
I know that you weren't exactly happy growing up here as a lad, Dane. It's a remote place. It's removed from a lot of the world, but your mother and I chose fertile ground precisely for that reason. It was meant to shield us, to shield you from some of the harsher things that this world has to offer. It would seem, however, that you were fated to cross such things regardless. You always had a nose for trouble, but you always also had a way of landing on your feet.
I don't want you to think that I wasn't happy here. I think, honestly, my happiest memories are at this table or by that fire. It wasn't unhappiness that drew me away. It was something else. I think it was this journey that we're on. I know you've never been much one for fate, but I think that's exactly what it is.
I have to admit that prophecies and destiny and fate are all things that are out of my grasp. I don't even try to understand them. Can't. It's more your mother's family's purview. But I would be remiss to say that I doubt in your part to play in whatever it is that lies ahead of this situation the kingdom now finds itself in.
Well, we'll all do the best we can. I had told my friends that you might have some news of goings on, but Mom said you hadn't traveled very far. That's good. You're around, here for her.
I did travel as far as Malrich and back, but I'm afraid that the news of what's going on elsewhere in the kingdom is just as dire as what you may have told us just now. So if you are in the mood for more sullen news, then I can certainly give it to you.
I kind of look around the table I mean, we're not exactly like the most happy-go-lucky bunch most of the time anyway. But, I look around and then kind of nod to my dad that, yes, we're willing to hear whatever he has. Since we have to travel that way.
He kind of nods when it's clear that nobody seems adverse to hearing what he has to say. And he says, well, the Bloodmouth Plague has spread like wildfire through the northern reaches. The marchers there are now beginning to report even as far down as some of the villages and towns north of Malrich and Cavalon, of sick turning up and having to quarantine entire villages and towns. People are scared. People are fleeing south when they can. The Queen's legitimacy is still in question by House Melowain and their allies in the west, but House Lightenor, and he kind of gives a nod towards Sir John. House Lightenor turning Curwall over to House Lathelbrun was certainly a decisive victory. Duchess Deidre Melowain and her forces have had to fall back to Oxfeld, and could possibly be facing their last stand there before the first snows of winter fall. That's potentially good news on that front. Where does this destiny carry you next? And your mother, without giving anybody else a chance to say, she just kind of quietly says, north. And your father kind of turns and looks at you. North. Past Malrich.
We're going back up to Ari's home.
You travel back to Elven lands beyond the wall. You will have to pass through Warrenton. All the wilds, either way. That whole area, from my understanding, son, is sick.
Well, maybe we don't need to go there then.
I'll take it there's much left in Warrenton.
I think Dane eyeballs Ari like, did she mean don't go to Warrenton or don't go back to the elf lands? Because that seems a little sus. I don't think we have a clearer path than that. We'll avoid what we can. Not exactly a large group, so we don't have to stick to the roads.
Well, take precaution and enough supplies to make the journey, because there may not be any places that you can stop and restock on your way or back. As for the elves themselves, he kind of like casts an uneasy look in Ari's direction. Best of luck north of the wall.
Yes. I think in the best of times that could be said. I don't think we left the best impression last time we were there. Well. So that's enough talk about plagues and possible death.
Certainly. Where are my manners? Please. I just brought a cask back. When I returned from the capital. It's not the most expensive ale. You'll have to forgive me, my lords and lady. But it's pretty good for us. And he kind of fetches this cask of ale, and we'll put a tap in it. And
Would be rude of me to decline a drink.
Oh, of course not. He kind of like halfway is handing you a glass and then pulls it back. Between the kind of cozy atmosphere of the cottage, the delicious warmth of the chicken and mushroom soup, and whatever it is that you may be drinking. All of you are able to kind of unwind and relax a little. You had some rest and relaxation in Shenin, but it wasn't the true quiet that you kind of needed to really wash off the experience that you had in Angorshire. And here you will sleep very, very well.
The only other thing I want to do before we like head out is I would like to get up early in the morning and head out to Toby's grave.
Yep, you can certainly do so. I think it's, again, something that you probably visited at least a few times before you left.
Yeah.
So you have no problems finding it again. It's probably a little overgrown. You know, not in shambles or anything, but it's definitely obvious that nature is taking its course here.
Right. And so I imagine it's got like, ivy growing on it and some plants growing up against it. And so I take my time. I'm not going to tear off the plants or rip up the vines. I'm simply going to remove them and lay them so that they kind of are more growing around this rather than over it.
I think the grave is much smaller than you remember it being.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like I sweep away like the fallen leaves and move these vines, and very sort of autopilot-y. There's like this path that goes over the hill and sort of wanders back down to this small creek that no one uses for anything. Kids play in it. That's about all it is. And get some water and bring it back up, and I water the plants, and I'm gonna wash the simple stone marker that's there off. And then with my forearm, where the rust sort of stains my flesh, I roll my sleeve back, and I'm going to rub my arm across it so that just the letters, the TOBY sort of pick up that red rust and stand out from the gray stone. I'll pull my sleeve back down. It's very weird, Toby, to think. I sort of hold up a stick. Something as simple as this got us so involved in something so complex as all of this. Sometimes I wish you were here. You'd make a good squire for Tord. He'd probably make you run, though. I imagine. I wish you had ran that day. And I'm going to take my little stick sword, put it against his little headstone, and just turn and walk back to my house.
All of you are able to rise as early or as late as you wish. Breakfast is made with eggs and biscuits and a side of sausage. There is breakfast ale to be served if you fancy it, and if not, there is water pumped straight from the well. And you're able to say your goodbyes and saddle your horses and things, making ready for the next leg of your journey, which you know will take some time before you will meet before you reach the capital of Malrich again. I'll bring the map up here if I can find it.
I know that this small village isn't necessarily like wealthy in supplies and stuff, but I'd like to go to some of the farmers that I know and maybe buy some provisions from them, but also way overpay for them because we're a little flush with coin right this second. So, you know, if it's like normally a silver for some chicken, I'm like, here's 10 gold. Thump.
Okay.
But I'm not going to give anybody anything in town. Does that make sense? Like people
Yeah,
in
100%.
program would they would turn it away. But buying the chicken for, 100 times what it's worth.
Yeah, and there's many people who will try to refuse the overpayment. Especially knowing that not only are you a local, but that you are also a knight. They don't want to take your money, but Dane, being who he is, has no trouble convincing them to keep it and likely put it towards something good.
Mr. Gilman, it makes up for like the 20 pies I stole. Like it's
You stole those pies.
Well, Toby. Yes.
Oh, I knew it. Well, I suppose it's hard to be angry about it anymore. It's been some time, but thank you, Dane. Sir Dane. And he kind of like bows clumsily and like way in the wrong way.
Right. And we don't need to like play through any of it, but every time someone does that, I'm like, no, it's just Dane. Like there's no I try and like catch my mom and dad and correct them like I don't know how the rest of the party feels about it, but I'm like, you don't have to call turd Tord sir. Right? It's Tord. Like the only person I call sir still is Sir John. I realized that recently. Like it's Ari and Eddard and Tord, but it's still Sir John all the time.
Because I taught you well.
I like that little Freudian slip that you put in there. Okay. Yeah, they thank you profusely whenever it's obvious that they're not going to be able to convince you of keeping the coin. And they, provide you with 2 to 3 times the amount that you had asked for. Every time that you go to walk away with a bundle, you find something that has been wrapped and kind of added to it, kind of in the bottom, an extra wheel of cheese or another half a dozen eggs than what you bought. Maybe even like a little cake or 2 that someone baked. As you leave fertile ground, your parents wave goodbye to you. They wish you to be careful. Kiss you on the forehead, all those kinds of things that parents do when they're sending their children off to dangerous errands elsewhere in the kingdom. You're on the road for several days, and one of the things again that you're kind of having to get used to once again is traffic. Other people coming and going that you're passing on the road was not something that you really saw. Even between Fertile Ground and Shenin, there was not much traffic coming back and forth. So you've gotten used to kind of now passing people on the road again. And probably about the 4th day or so in, the road's not very busy today. You're a decent distance away from both towns. So the traveling has cut down a bit. And at one point, one of you notices a crow that is sitting in a tree just off of the road. Just kind of sitting on a low branch of the tree, just watching you.
Tord, is that your friend?
I think it's just a bird, a regular one. I think my eyes are getting real bad.
I didn't
Toward-
know if it always was weird.
It's. You think that crow might have something in its beak?
Come here. I'm actually going to cast Speak with Animals because I have it as a spell prepared all the time.
Okay, excellent.
Come here. Give it.
The crow flies down, and as it nears you, instead of like taking perch on your hand or your forearm, whatever it is that you've proffered, it drops the object that it was holding. You got close enough that you could see that it was a seed pod that seems to be coated in some kind of yellow paste. You finish casting your spell on this bird, and as it flies overhead, it says, "Deliver the goods. Deliver the goods. Mistress will be pleased. Mistress will be pleased. I've delivered the goods." You watch as where those pods fell, something begins to sprout. All of you realize that there's more crows in the trees, in the bushes around you, each of them kind of surrounding you, as it were, and they begin to drop the pods that they carry in their beaks. And as they do so, all around you, you watch as these yellow mushrooms very quickly begin to sprout instantaneously and start to fill the air around you with spores. These mushrooms are these kind of shimmering yellow, golden colored mushrooms. As I said, they grow very quickly, right before your eyes. And the road in the area around you begins to thicken with the spores that they are producing. Anybody who wants can roll a nature or survival. As Tord has already shown his proclivity for mushrooms. Okay. Ari, Dane. Eddard. Okay. No, Tord? No? Okay. Ari, Dane, and Eddard, the three of you recognize these as something that is known locally as slumber shrooms. And as these spores kind of cloud the air around you quite suddenly, I need everyone please to make Constitution saving throws.
You all have a +3 because you're standing by me.
Thank you. I needed that +3.
Okay, Eddard. So you got a nat 20 and that became a 19? Is that right, Eddard?
No, I had a 19 on the nature check, and then you rolled
Oh,
the con roll, and
perfect.
I rolled a natural 20.
Okay, and that is just a flat 20 then? No bonus?
Yes, I have 0.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. All right.
Plus the 3 from Tord. So
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, there you go. And then Tord and Dane, both good. Okay. So, Eddard, Tord, and Dane, the three of you, just either instinctively or just by luck of position or something, you manage to, throw something up and over your mouth and nose, or move to a place where the cloud isn't as thick and avoid breathing the majority of these spores, or you or you just happen to maybe not be affected by it. However, Sir John and Ari both go catatonic and slump forward in their saddles and begin to kind of like shift as if they're going to fall.
I have one thing in case this pertains to this.
Okay.
Magic can't put me to sleep. So.
Interesting. Okay.
Just
So
help things.
Ari also just help things. Ari also manages to throw off the effects of this. It is only Sir John who falls catatonic in his saddle and begins to slump to the side. Anybody who's nearby can easily reach out and hold him in his saddle, make sure he doesn't fall to the ground if they wish to do so. And you can kind of move forward to get out of this, basically what looks like a fairy ring of these mushrooms that has like suddenly been spawned into existence. However, Sir John, you found yourself kind of getting drowsy momentarily, and then everything went black. And when you open your eyes, you find yourself transported. Instead of the exact kind of forest road that you were on just before, you find yourself in a foggy forest, a deeper wooded area than you were just before. And ahead of you, in the fog, you can just make out a collection of dark huts that are built amongst the trees ahead of you, with flickering firelight coming from within its windows.
How
I think-
close are we? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think that's where we're going to actually end the session. Yeah, okay. Oh, yes, I forgot that little detail. There are bones strewn about all outside of this hut. All over the ground. Not all of them animal carcasses. Okay, so yeah, that's everything I've got for this evening. Everybody, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for being the group of people that you are and the kind of players that you all are. The amount of love and attention and care that you guys all show towards your characters and the story and the setting it's good for me to see. It makes me very, very happy. So thank you. I'm going to pass things over to my players so that they can say any parting words. Once again, kind of touch on where you might be able to find them, what they got going on. And then I think we're going to wrap it up for the evening. So we'll start in reverse order with Baron.
Hey everybody, I'm Baron. I play Masaka Tord. I talk a lot and kill shit and get killed. I'm here.
Very succinct. I like that. D&D in a nutshell. Talk a lot and get killed. All right, next up we have Karen.
Hey everyone, I play Ariana, and I just love this group of people and this game so much. It's just a blast, and oh my god, Tord had me in stitches tonight with his repartee with pretty much everybody, so it's awesome.
Yeah, there was a lot of moments where I was tearing up, laughing so hard. There was a lot of really funny, unexpectedly funny moments in tonight's game, so it was a nice surprise. All right, next up we have Josh.
Hey guys, I'm Josh. I was Eddard Bainton Pendrick. Not a whole lot going on for you to find me on the internet. Been really busy with work, but I am here whenever we do play. Hopefully I'll be here every month from now on. I was really glad to be able to get around with you guys and just be with y'all and play D&D and roll some dice. It's been a real good time. I missed y'all very much. So thank y'all. Wonderful game, of course. Just blows my mind. 32 sessions in 3 years and some change, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. It's crazy.
Certainly not with the dialogue trees that we find ourselves on. No. I love this.
Just cut to the chase sometime.
No, I wouldn't trade it for the world, honestly. I always find myself preparing too much for this game and being worried that I might not have enough, sometimes enough to get us through a session, and I'm always very pleasantly surprised. I don't know why I haven't learned by now, but 3 years. I think it's like 4 years when something becomes a habit. I think that's what it is. But so we'll see. It was awesome to have you back, Josh. We certainly missed you, man. As well as Edder's touch on the things that were going on. So super happy that you're back with us. Okay, next we have Steve.
Yep, I also talk a lot. But I do want to say that this group of players has the way of coming off of an incredibly sort of intense last session. And it's just like, you know what? We need this lighthearted moment before we get back into butts in the oven, right? Because we know that's coming. That's just my term now for the woe part of this, is going to be butts in the oven. So I appreciate that, right? Like, I appreciate, and it never feels forced. It always feels like way within the realm of these characters. Even if you just look at them, like these comedic moments are almost them getting to be people instead of the heroes of Vykaril, right? Like, they get to be the people around a campfire and not the people who have to go and save the world. And that's always awesome. And as always, thanks for running, Jeremy. It's always so much fun.
It is undoubtedly my pleasure. Each and every time that we sit down to play. So thank you guys. Again, Rosmine is something that I've been developing for like 20 years now, 21 years, and this is the first time that I've kind of taken a hardcore cultural dive just into Vykaril. And it's been amazing to watch all of you shape my understanding and expectation of this part of the world that I've kind of known for so long, but it's always been kind of a gray haze. So seeing it come into like sharp focus and a really interesting relief, it's been fantastic, honestly. Like, this is exactly what I was wanting out of this part of the world, and all of you understand that, and it's very clear every time that we sit down to play that you all get it, and you all do your best to shape the world through the behavior and the actions of your characters, which is, it's everything that I could ask for. So thank you. Last but certainly not least, everything that I could ask for, Eli.
Hey everybody. This was a good session. It's nice to like chill out for a little bit after some high stress scenarios, and I love goofing around with all you folks. So I had a great time. You can find me around the internet. I am probably going to be found either at Zap Dynamic or at Mythic Gazetteer, pretty much anywhere you look. Nothing really big to talk about right now though.
Excellent. Yeah, man, always a pleasure. Always a lot of fun. So I think that's all that I have for this evening. Other than just to say, for everybody who is watching out there, thank you very, very much for tuning in and coming along on a part of this incredibly in-depth, long, just a spectacular journey that we've had so far. I'm very excited to kind of see what comes next, still yet in our story. There's no telling how much longer it's going to go on. It could be another 3 years for all I know. But I'm here for it. It's been a lot of fun.
Jeremy,
What's up?
I hate to interrupt, but you forgot the
Please.
elf.
The elf.
Did Ari
Did I
not
skip
say her
something?
outro?
Did you not say yours, Karen? Did I skip you?
No, I was. I talked.
She said,
Oh,
yeah, it
did
was
you?
just brief, short.
Oh, okay. I must
No
have
worries.
fallen asleep momentarily. Sorry, the score got to me.
It's the
Eder doesn't
very,
speak Elvish.
it's the very
No, I do.
lulling tones of Karen. Yeah.
Unbeknownst to everybody else, it wasn't Sir John that fell asleep. It was Eddard who fell asleep. on the voice.
Now look, we have the magical ability to derail the game and derail the outro and intro. So I'm sorry, Jeremy. Continue.
Dude, you're great. You're good. Thank you for double checking and making sure that I did not skip anybody. I appreciate that, because for a second I was freaking out. Yeah, speaking of freaking out, I have to go to work tomorrow. No, thank you everybody so much for like I said, watching. This has been incredible, and I hope that you are all enjoying it. Whether you tuned in live with us this evening or whether you may be watching at some point in the future, it truly does mean a lot to me to see that people are not only engaging with this and watching it, but are enjoying it. So if you do like this, like the button, hit the like button, leave comments, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, tell them to come check out this game or anything else that's on the channel that you might find interesting. That's how the channel grows, and that's what lets me know what people are enjoying about the content that we make here on the Erasmus Expeditions. So I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving if you celebrated here in the States, and that it was safe and full of family and friends and however it was that you chose to spend it. I think we are going to see this bunch of people at least once more before Christmas. I don't think that we have scheduled that session yet. That's something that I'll have to try to do here in the next couple of days. Then, yeah, I think other than that, we'll see you around when we see you here on the channel. So until then, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.